You think you're marrying for love. Nietzsche thinks you're just afraid of being alone. He didn't buy the fairy tale, not the ring, not the vows, not the champagne-soaked forever. He believed most people don't marry out of strength. They marry because they're weak, because they want to be saved. When marrying, ask yourself, do you believe you will enjoy talking with this person into your old age? Now ask yourself, is that why people get married today? To build lifelong minds, to endure evolution together, or to distract themselves from their own emptiness? Because silence is terrifying. It forces you to hear yourself, and most people would rather hear someone else than confront the void inside. Nietzsche didn't hate love. He didn't even hate marriage. He hated what we'd done to both, how we turned something noble into a transaction, a coping mechanism wrapped in fantasy. People chase love the way addicts chase their next high. They want sparks, not responsibility. They want to be understood, but they don't want to become worthy of that understanding. And marriage? To Nietzsche, it wasn't sacred unless it produced greatness, not emotional highs, not feeling seen, but a reason to evolve. The purpose of marriage is not happiness, but the creation of higher humans. You don't marry to feel complete. You marry to challenge nature, to bring forward superior life through discipline, not dopamine. This isn't romance, it's existential warfare, a war against mediocrity, against weakness, against the lie that love is always right just because it feels right. That's why this offends you, because you thought love was the goal. But Nietzsche saw it as the bait, and most people take it, only to wake up one day and wonder, why does this perfect story feel so hollow? Because it was built on fear, not truth, on comfort, not growth, on chemistry, not character. So if you're clutching love like a lifeboat, Nietzsche would say you were never ready for it. Let's start by tearing down the illusion. If love feels like salvation, then what exactly are we being saved from? The lie of romantic love. Romantic love is the greatest lie ever sold to the modern mind, Nietzsche would say, if he lived long enough to see the dating apps, the Instagram proposals, the influencer weddings. We used to fear God. Now we fear being single. But Nietzsche knew this before it became a spectacle. He saw that romantic love had stopped being a truth and became an opium, an illusion carefully manufactured to distract us from something far more terrifying, our own unfinished selves. We don't fall in love with people. We fall in love with ideas of people, with what they reflect back to us, with how they validate our fragile identity for a moment. Love is blind. Friendship closes its eyes. He wasn't being poetic. He meant this literally. We fall in love by ignoring reality. We don't see the other person as they are. We see them as a mirror to fill our emotional voids, a fantasy that allows us to escape self-awareness. And then when reality hits, when the fantasy breaks, we don't evolve. We resent. We say, they changed. Number, they didn't. You just stopped hallucinating. Modern love is based on emotional consumption. Swipe, match, click, spark. We aren't looking for souls. We're hunting for dopamine, a hit, a high. The talking stage becomes a vending machine for attention, and attention becomes confused with connection. But Nietzsche? He saw this centuries ago, in the rising bourgeois obsession with sentimentality. He saw how love had become a commodity, a story we sell ourselves so we don't have to write a harder one. Because real self-work is brutal, and fantasy is easier. So we invent a lie. If I find the right person, everything will make sense. But Nietzsche would laugh, because that's not love. That's laziness in disguise. Most people believe love is about being understood. Nietzsche believed it's about becoming worthy of understanding. Big difference. And here's the darkest truth. We often choose people not based on strength, but based on shared wounds. You don't just attract what you want, you attract what you are, your traumas, your patterns, your subconscious limitations. Nietzsche would say, romantic love is how our instincts deceive our intelligence, because nature doesn't care about your happiness. It cares about reproduction, about continuing the species. It will flood your brain with euphoria and make you believe it's fate, just long enough to mate and move on. And you? You'll write poems about it. You'll think it's sacred. And when it crashes, because it always does, you'll blame yourself, or worse, lose faith in love altogether. But Nietzsche would tell you, you weren't betrayed, you were dreaming. The lie of romantic love isn't that it's false, it's that it masquerades as truth, while pulling you further from self-knowledge. It tells you to look outward, to find the one, to complete your story with another character, when all along, it was you who needed rewriting. So what would Nietzsche say? He'd say, stop worshiping the feeling. Start analyzing the pattern. If you always fall for the same kind of person, if you always lose yourself in love, if you always feel saved at the start and trapped at the end, that's not romance. That's unconscious repetition. And you can't fix it with new dates, better apps, or deeper quotes. You fix it by becoming someone who doesn't need rescuing. Only then, maybe, love becomes possible. Not because it completes you, but because it matches your clarity. So if romantic love is mostly projection and instinct, what should we actually be looking for? Let's talk about the kind of love Nietzsche did respect. The kind that creates legacy, not just chemistry. Marriage as eugenic selection. Nietzsche's brutal. Nietzsche didn't believe in fairy tale marriages. He believed in selective breeding. Yeah, you heard that right. Not out of cruelty, but out of responsibility. To future generations, to culture, to civilization itself. Because to Nietzsche, the union of two people wasn't a love story. It was a biological and philosophical decision. A filter for higher humanity, a tool for evolution. Marriage should be a long conversation which always seems too short. That quote? It isn't cute. It's clinical. It's Nietzsche saying, marry someone whose mind you want to sharpen forever, not whose body you're obsessed with for 3 months. But most people don't think like that. They fall into marriage like it's a gravity well, not a choice, not a strategy. We marry because everyone else is doing it, because we're running out of time, because we want kids, because we want validation, because love makes us feel temporarily immortal. But Nietzsche flips the script. He asks you, what kind of future are you helping create? What bloodline are you continuing? What ideals, what instincts, what intelligence are you multiplying? It's not romantic, but it's real. He believed most people shouldn't even be allowed to marry because they're not strong enough, not self-aware enough, not visionary enough. He said, the state should not allow marriage except as an exception to those who are philosophically and biologically fit. Extreme? Sure. But Nietzsche was designing for millennia, not next Friday's dinner plans. He looked at society and saw two classes of love: instinctual, impulsive, herd-based reproduction, animals in human clothes, breeding from fear, loneliness, habit, conscious philosophical unions, people who understood their role in history, who didn't just want a partner, but a co-architect of future excellence. And here's the twist. He believed the future of genius depended on these rare unions. So what does that mean for you? It means stop thinking of marriage as just emotional comfort. Start thinking of it as a sacred responsibility to the version of the world you'll never live to see. You don't marry to complete yourself. You marry to contribute, to pass on strength, discipline, and refined chaos. to amplify a certain type of soul into the future. That's the brutal beauty of Nietzsche's vision. It's not about your feelings. It's about your offspring's potential. He didn't care how compatible your hobbies are. He cared whether your DNA, your moral DNA, would leave the world better or worse. Let everything in you serve life. Let everything serve the ascent of man. And let's be honest, in a culture addicted to pleasure and allergic to meaning, this idea sounds like heresy. But maybe that's why it's exactly what we need to hear. Because love shouldn't just be beautiful, it should be useful. And marriage? It should be a forge, a fire that shapes future generations. If that sounds intense, good. It's supposed to be. Because mediocrity is a choice, and so is legacy. So where does that leave us? If love isn't enough, if fantasy collapses under truth, if even marriage must bow to meaning, then how do we know if we've chosen the right person? Next, Nietzsche's shocking view on how to test your love, not through emotions, but through time. The test of time. Can you still talk in old age? Nietzsche didn't believe in soulmates. He believed in conversations that never end. When marrying, ask yourself this question. Do you believe that you will be able to converse well with this person into your old age? It's not romantic, but it's everything. Because when the dopamine fades, when the bodies change, when careers plateau and children move out, and silence becomes the soundtrack of your home, what remains? Only one thing: dialogue. The ability to meet another mind again and again in curiosity, in disagreement, in wonder, without needing to win, impress, or escape. And that's why most relationships fail, because they were built on thrill, not thought. Modern love is addicted to novelty. We want the chase. We want the spark. But Nietzsche is asking a darker question. Can you sit beside this person for 40 years and never run out of things to explore? Not just talk, not daily logistics, bills, what's for dinner, but real existential exploration. Because marriage, at its highest, isn't about harmony. It's about evolution. It's a conversation with time. And not everyone is fluent. Most people choose partners who make them feel seen. Nietzsche wanted you to choose someone who makes you see deeper. Someone whose mind doesn't mirror yours, but expands it. Someone who doesn't always agree, but always respects. Because without intellectual respect, love rots into repetition. Without friction, without challenge, your soul gets lazy. Nietzsche wasn't interested in ease. He wanted intensity. He wanted alchemy. Two wills sharpening each other over decades. That's why he placed conversation at the center. Not as a hobby, as a test. Because how you talk reveals how you think. And how you think reveals how you live. Now ask yourself honestly, if you stripped away the chemistry, the lifestyle, the physical attraction, would you still admire their mind? Would you trust them to shape your children's thinking? Would you choose them as a fellow soldier in the war of existence? Or are they just a comfort blanket, a distraction from your own silence? Nietzsche believed the highest marriage wasn't between lovers. It was between philosophers, not professional thinkers, but people committed to understanding life, to enduring it with courage, to building something beyond the self. Because in the end, sex fades, the house crumbles, the memories blur, and what you're left with is one soul across from another asking, what do you believe today? What do you still fear? What haven't we dared to question yet? That's the real vow, not I love you, but I will keep seeking truth beside you. That's the only thing that survives time. Not shared bank accounts, not vacations, not anniversary gifts. Dialogue is destiny. So if Nietzsche believed that love should survive not on pleasure, but on philosophy, then how do we cultivate relationships that aren't just stimulating, but soul-elevating? In the next section, we face Nietzsche's hardest truth yet. Most people aren't ready to marry because they haven't married themselves. Let's talk about that. Self-marriage before all. Why you must earn the right to love. Nietzsche said it without flinching. You must be ready to burn yourself in your own flame. How could you rise anew if you have not first become ashes? That's not about death. It's about transformation, self-overcoming. And here's where most people sabotage love. They skip the first step. They want someone to complete them before they've even met themselves. Marriage? It's not a reward, it's a mirror. And if you haven't cleaned the dirt off your own reflection, you'll blame your partner every time the image distorts. Nietzsche's core warning was this: you're not ready to love someone else until you've married your own chaos, until you've stared into the abyss of your insecurity, your childhood wounds, your need to control, your fear of being abandoned, and said, I see you, but you don't rule me anymore. Only then, maybe, you earn the right to love. But what do most people do instead? They look for someone to soothe their anxiety, to carry their ambition, to distract them from silence. We want someone to save us. But Nietzsche demands something harder, someone to challenge us. After we've already challenged ourselves, most of us are looking for the one. Nietzsche would say, be the one. Before you ask for loyalty, ask if you're consistent. Before you demand attention, ask if your presence brings value. Before you cry about being misunderstood, ask if you've learned to articulate your own mind clearly, without manipulation. It's not about perfection, it's about ownership. Because when you haven't owned your flaws, you project them, you weaponize them, you create a love story soaked in blame. And here's the brutal truth. Most relationships are just two people outsourcing the war they should be fighting within themselves. That's why it feels romantic at first, but decays so fast. Because the energy between them wasn't love, it was trauma camouflage. Nietzsche wanted something purer, not cleaner, purer, raw, honest, fierce. He believed love should be earned by forging yourself first, through solitude, through spiritual discipline, through learning how to become your own parent, philosopher, and warrior. You don't need someone to love you. You need someone worthy of your love. Once you've stopped giving it away like a currency for self-worth. Because the greatest mistake we make, we enter relationships to escape ourselves. Nietzsche tells us, don't escape, conquer, not with force, but with consciousness. He believed solitude wasn't loneliness. It was a forge. And if you can't handle your own mind in silence, you have no business asking someone else to enter your storm. He who cannot endure solitude, neither should he marry. So here's the test. Can you live with yourself, honestly, intensely, fearlessly? Can you sit in a room undistracted and not collapse into craving? Can you forgive your past without needing someone to kiss it away? If the answer is no, you're not broken. You're just early. The work starts now, because when you've married yourself, you stop choosing lovers based on who excites you, and start choosing based on who aligns with your evolution. In the next section, we'll face Nietzsche's final romantic heresy. True love might actually be rare, because true individuality is rare. Let's talk about what that means. For you, for love, for legacy. True love is rare, because true individuals are rare. Nietzsche's idea of love isn't about finding someone like you. It's about finding someone unlike you, someone whose individuality isn't diluted by the crowd. Why? Because true love requires true individuals. But what does that mean? Most people conform. They follow scripts, jobs, social media trends, popular beliefs. They dress the same, think the same, act the same. And in this mass-produced sameness, love becomes a convenient habit, not a rare flame. Nietzsche warned us. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. When people lose themselves in the tribe, they lose the capacity for deep connection. Because real love doesn't just fill a void, it challenges you to become more authentic, more powerful, more you. True individuals don't fear being different. They embrace it. They cultivate their uniqueness like a sacred garden. And when two such individuals meet, sparks fly. Not just physical sparks, intellectual, spiritual, creative sparks. This is Nietzsche's rare love. Not easy, not comfortable, but transformative. Because true love is a forge where two distinct souls are hammered, shaped, and refined, each stronger for the other. But here's the catch. True individuality is rare. It takes courage to break free from social norms. It requires willingness to be misunderstood. It means standing alone, sometimes painfully, because the herd fears the outlier. And this is why many settle. They choose comfort. They choose familiarity. They choose safe sameness. Because love built on sameness is easy, but it's fragile. It breaks under pressure. It fades into boredom. Nietzsche demands more. He demands that you become yourself first, not a copy of others, not a product of the crowd, but a unique soul who stands proud, even if it means standing alone. So, if you want true love, prepare to become rare. Prepare to shed conformity, to fight your own fears, to embrace your quirks and shadows. Because only two rare souls, strong enough, authentic enough, can forge a love that lasts. Nietzsche's romantic heresy is this: true love isn't found. It's created by two warriors who refuse to settle for less than their true selves. And that is the ultimate lesson. Love isn't about losing yourself in someone else. It's about finding someone who strengthens the self you fought so hard to become. So, if you're still searching for love, start by searching for yourself. Because true love is rare, not because it's hidden, but because true individuality is rare. In the final part of this video, we'll reflect on how Nietzsche's vision of love, raw, demanding, transformative, challenges everything modern culture tells us about romance, and how, if you're brave enough to accept it, it can change your life forever. The harsh reality. Why love at first sight is mostly myth. We all love the idea of love at first sight. The instant spark, the magnetic pull, the fairy tale moment where two souls just click. But Nietzsche, ever the realist, would caution us, beware of first impressions. They are often illusions. Love at first sight feels magical because it's easy. It asks nothing of us except to surrender to the moment. It's a chemical rush, a mirror reflecting what we want to see, not what truly is. Real love, Nietzsche's love, demands work. It's built on patience, struggle, and growth. It's forged through long conversations, disagreements, and moments of doubt. When we chase instant love, we risk confusing infatuation with connection. Infatuation is a short-lived flame, bright but easily snuffed out by reality. True connection, by contrast, grows slowly. It asks, who are you when no one's watching? What shadows do you carry? Can you sit with another's darkness without fleeing? Nietzsche believed love is a form of recognition, not just of beauty or charm, but of individuality and depth. That recognition takes time. It unfolds when two people meet again and again, seeing each other beyond masks and pretenses. So next time you feel swept away by instant attraction, ask yourself, is this true recognition or just a quick spark? Because Nietzsche's love isn't a fairy tale, it's a battlefield. And only those willing to fight for their own truth and their partners can win the prize of lasting love. So here is conclusion. Nietzsche teaches us that true love demands courage, growth, and authenticity. It's not about fleeting feelings or easy comfort. It's about two rare individuals creating something powerful together. If you want to understand more of Nietzsche's bold ideas on life, love, and strength, subscribe to my channel, Friedrich Nietzsche, for new posts every week. Like this video if it challenged your thinking, and share it with someone who might find it valuable. Your journey to true love and self-mastery starts here. Join the conversation.